So I'm Hubert from the L2b team. So we are this team that is building the website that's kind of showing you all of the data about all different L2s. And nowadays, as you probably know, there is a lot of them. So when I was starting, I think it was less than 10. And now we have 70 active projects and 80 upcoming. So the L2 space is booming. So I wanted to basically go through the whole L2 space very quickly with all of you, so you actually understand what are the L2s, why do we actually need it, and what the future holds for scaling Ethereum, I guess. So very quick recap for anybody if you don't know. So layer 2 is a category of technical solutions aimed to scale the base layer in a trust minimized way. I think the trust minimized way is like the most important part here. So basically what this means that you can process more transactions on like this whole layer 1 ecosystem without losing its security guarantees. So for example, we at L2bit kind of separate those L2s into two versions. So there are like light L2s and strong L2s, like rollups. So what that means is basically on some systems, when you bridge the assets from L1 to an L2, if the L2 goes down, you will not be able to do anything about it. Basically, you are screwed. But some solutions allow you to withdraw the money back to L1 without the L2 actually being live. So we kind of want to propagate these second types of those L2 solutions, because we think this is like basically the future that is the most secure for all of us. So as I mentioned, we have 74 active projects and 81 is upcoming. I think we'll add probably like 10 of those next week, so it will be even more. So as you can see, the space is growing. And why is it growing? Because we basically need it, right? So the problem with Ethereum, maybe not right now, but back in the day, like even a couple of months ago, was that the fees were like gigantic, right? So I remember when Eigenlayer, for example, were opening the deposits, when I wanted to put some ETH there to restake it, I had to pay around $100 for single transaction, right? So like if you want to have an app that is kind of targeted to everybody all around the world, like such amounts are just something that will basically kill the project from the start, right? So those L2s basically are cheaper and faster, so like the transactions are like sub-cent right now, but at the same time you still have these different types of guarantees from the base blockchain. Very important statement, there is no official L2 by the Ethereum team, so we are all expanding Ethereum together, all of those different teams that are building alt VMs, that are migrating from building L1s to L2s, all of those new base rollups, all of those teams that are already established, so they have like some kinds of protocols or other products out there. They are all building together. They are all bringing more users, more developers, and that way basically Ethereum is like this tree. The branches are going into all different directions all at once, which wouldn't be possible if we would have like just one big solution, right? So there are like a couple of types of L2s. So first, I will be going from like the ones that are that you need to basically trust more to those that are trust minimized. So first type will be Optimiums. So basically they use fraud proofs and the data is held off-chain. So what it means is basically that all of the data about the chain itself is held like in some DAC or on some server in even some cases. So basically, if the team behind an L2, let's say you send there $100, the team behind the L2 decided that they don't want to do anything with it anymore, and basically they are gone. And if they will shut down the L2 like immediately with fraud proofs, you basically need to wait for 7 days before withdrawing. So you would not be able to withdraw any of the funds. That's first thing. And the other is that you don't know where the data about the state of this chain actually is held. So you basically are very, very screwed. Then we have Validiums. So basically they use validity proofs and the data is called off-chain as well. So in this case, you basically can withdraw a bit faster because they validate every single block. So let's say with like, for example, ZK Syncs, the time is only 21 hours right now. So that's a lot better, but still, this is not perfect. So those solutions, for example, right now are mostly StarkXs, so kind of old technology, let's say, and all these Polygon CDK and ZK Stack projects with custom DA solutions that are just like I mentioned. You don't really know where the data is actually held in most of the cases. So also not perfect, but a bit better than Optimus for sure. Then we have optimistic rollups. So basically you have fraud proofs and the data is held on chain. So if it will go down, like the community can still kind of gather around and do something about it, and then withdraw the money in a permissionless way. So right now, of course, like the biggest optimistic rollups is Optimis and Arbitrum. And in our semantic approach, we are calling all of the rollups that aim to be ZK in the future, like Tycoon, Zirkut, optimistic rollups as well. Right now, this is kind of still ongoing fight and discussion with all of those different projects, but just so you know, this is what we are doing as an L2 bit. And then we have ZK rollups. So basically, let's say like this future for all of those different L2 solutions. So basically, you have validity proofs plus on-chain data. You are validating every block, which is in theory a bit more expensive, but at the same time, you can withdraw basically on it anytime you want if the chain will go down. If of course the architecture is 100% done right. And the biggest ZK rollups right now are of course Scroll, ZK Sync, Era, Starknet, and Linea by consensus. So as I mentioned, those rollups are the solutions that we are focused mostly on. So there are these real trust minimized solutions. They are like marked green on our website. So as I mentioned, when the L2 will go down, right? So when the rollup will go down, you can still withdraw the money with only L1 being active. And since all of those L2 solutions are posting the data on Ethereum, right? Ethereum has like those thousands and thousands of nodes all around the world. So even in case of like some war or some like if somebody would wanted to like seize all of those computers or whatever, the chance that the whole network will go down is almost impossible, right? We would need just a bunch of machines and all of these would still work. So as I mentioned, we have those optimistic rollups. So right now, of course, the leading solution is Arbitrum 1. It holds like 40% of the whole market of all of the L2 solutions out there. This is like basically one of the first teams that actually started building rollups. But they focus on like, at least like they were focused like even a year ago on one single giant general purpose chain. I think like most of the people probably use Arbitrum at some point if you're in ETH community. And the other leading solution is Optimism. So they had like this completely different view. So they just wanted to kind of open source their stack as soon as possible, no licenses or whatever, and they would just get all of those cool other teams that need their own chains. And they got like this, let's say, cultural advantage with solutions like Base, for example, from Coinbase, right? Or Mode, and many others, or Zora, for example. And right now, top 4 OP stack rollups are equal to 40% of the whole market. So it's almost the same as Arbitrum 1. But this is like around $26 billion. But Arbitrum 1 recently, you probably know about it, but they also started chasing Optimism, and they launched these Arbitrum Orbits that you can deploy as standalone L2s, all L3s as well. So I guess the conclusion is that the approach of Optimism was correct at the end. Of course, then are ZK rollups. So this market is a lot smaller. Top 10 ZK rollups are equal to 11% of the whole market. So that's like 7 times less than all of the optimistic rollups. So yeah, they are like they didn't build like any community like all of these other top optimistic ones, but in views of the many, like for example Vitalik, this is like basically the end game for scaling Ethereum, right? So you basically have these trust minimized chains all over the place that are deployed super quickly, super easily, and even if they will go down, users are still able to withdraw. So why even like all of those teams that I mentioned thinking about launching their own rollups, right? So I think one simple answer is basically sequencer fees, right? So if you are like a well-known used by many protocol, like WorldCoin, for example, on Optimism, they account for, I think, like 30% of all transactions on these specific chains. And, to basically send a transaction on a chain, you need to pay a fee, right, to the sequencer. And if they account for 30% of it, I guess that goes in like millions of dollars. So like the natural thing to do, like from the business perspective, is to basically make sure that all of those fees would go to you. So what they will be doing, they are like partnering with Optimism, they deploying their own L2, and now like the whole system still works almost the same, right? This is like the same solution from the technical standpoint, but all of the fees are going to them, and they can maybe decide what to do with them in the future. And also, of course, there are like other answers to these questions. So basically, maybe you have like huge user base that you can capitalize on. Maybe you want to do something that EVM is not allowing you to do, but you still want to focus on this Ethereum security that I mentioned. Or maybe this is like a natural way to upgrade your existing protocol, existing solution. Or maybe even you want to offer something unique, right, just for your users, and it's like impossible to do without your own chain. So if you want to launch a rollup, why even choose Ethereum as an L1? So this is like also pretty important question, right? So as I mentioned, those rollup chains are much faster and cheaper, and if they will go down, users can withdraw the assets back to L1 without the chain being live. And in theory, Ethereum never goes down since the merge. So I think it's like 4 years right now. And the other thing is that basically you have this different economic security approach from other proof of work networks like Bitcoin, for example. So many people are saying that economic security is kind of a meme. I personally believe in it. So basically, like right now, like the whole, I mean, like at the time of this Justin Drake tweet, the Bitcoin economic security. So like this, like basically this 600 millions of hash rate it was worth around 10 billions, and like staking all of this ETH was worth 105. I guess after the prices being down a bit, it's like by 30 or 40% lower, but still it's like much more than like next leading L1 that is Bitcoin, right? So deploying those rollups is also something that was kind of hard to do, even like 3 or 2 years ago, right? So like not many teams were actually doing it, but right now it's became as easy as launching a token. So if you are if you are focused on any specific part of the market, right? So maybe you are building a DEX, right? You don't really understand how to launch your own chain, how to take care of the infrastructure. But what you can do is to basically just fork already existing open source stacks like Arbitrum or Optimism, zkSync, Polygon, or Starknet. And even if you don't know what to do with them, you can there are basically companies popping up every now and then, like Caldera or Conduit, that are called rollup as a service providers. So basically they work like kind of like Amazon Web Services, right? They will just take care of all of these things just for you, and you just need to pay them like marginal fees every month compared to the money you can make from the sequencer fees. Or you can just do it like, you can create your own tech from the scratch and modify it if you have big brain team of engineers behind your project. That's always a possibility, right? So it's like, as I mentioned, it's super easy. It's comparable to launching a new token via one smart contract. So right now, we believe that there will be this next wave of L2s. So like the first wave was like at the very start, right? There were like those first iterations of general purpose L2s like Optimism and Arbitrum. Then it was possible to basically fork them and build still on top of them, but as your own chain. And now, since like everybody kind of realized how much money is in the rollup market and how easy it is to actually build something with all of those existing techs, we have like this another giant waves just around the horizon with all of these new alt VMs. So basically chains that will allow you to not use Solidity for your smart contracts. So maybe you will be able to use like some special programming languages like Noir, Barastek, or Sway by Fuel. Base rollups like Taiko, Rise, and Puffer, I believe. So basically, instead of like this standard sequencer architecture, you would use Ethereum nodes. Privacy L2s, right? So all of the transactions right now are rather public on all of those general purpose L2s, but other teams just basically want to allow you to do it in a private way, like so for example Aztec or Aleph. And then of course app chains. So if it's so easy to launch a chain so quickly, you can basically, if you are like these DEX that I mentioned, you can just launch your own chain and deploy your DEX there. And this is like the only thing you can do on this chain. Actually, you channel all of the users to this one DEX, and all of the fees from the transactions are still going back to you. Right? So yes, I believe that we will have something similar to the Murrow at some point. So those L2s will double each year, but at some point it will break, and will actually, the money from the investors eventually will run out. And all those chains will start to die out, and only a couple of them will actually survive. So like, what are the problems to all of those L2s that are launching nowadays? So basically the problem number one is of course liquidity. So getting a lot of those different assets like ETH or Bitcoin on your chain. So you basically can offer a better environment to your users and devs. So I would say that right now, like, this is like the main focus of all of those teams. So you not only have interoperability protocols like Hyperlane, Warhol, or Layer 0 working on omni-chain solutions, but also you kind of see that all of these stack providers wants to fix it as well with stuff like Aglayer and Superchain. So basically, if you will choose to build with Optimism, every single chain or Polygon CDK, every single chain, of course, ZK Sync is doing the same. Like every single stack provider will be doing this probably at some point. You can just basically get connected to this one shared bridge on L1. So let's say one giant company will be getting a lot of users, and even if you are a smaller team, you still benefit from all of this ETH being bridged. And there are also voices that actually this should be done by Vitalik himself, that this should be done by other public good focused company in the future. But I think the small problem is that this is probably like who would fund it? This is the first question, and the other one is basically there is so much money to be won by a team that will actually achieve this. That everybody wants to do it, and even I think like rollup as a service providers like Caldera, they plan to do this meta layer. So basically something like this shared liquidity, like Superchain, but for interstacks that they are deploying as a rollup as a service. So you can actually, I hardly doubt that. I think like basically first we'll connect all of those different stacks with each other, and then somebody will figure out the way to connect the stacks with each other, right? So this will be probably how it will go in, I would assume, 1 or 2 years, free tops. And problem number 2 is developers, of course. So the problem right now is that according to Electric Capital developer report from last year, we have around 2,400 devs in Solidity. So it's already, the fragmentation is not only from the liquidity standpoint, but also the devs. But at the same time, all of those different alt VM teams that offer their own Rust, most likely Rust-based programming languages are getting new users, new programmers onboarded to our ecosystem as well. But still, I believe this is like just not enough to kind of fill the remaining block space, and you can actually see with all of those already existing teams that they are just milking the grants and stuff by just redeploying the same DApp on all of those different chains. So you can this is a huge problem right now, and I think you can't really fix it easily. You just need to give it time, right? I think like this fresh blood is slowly coming. A lot of those developers are teaching the younger ones. So I think we'll get there, but it will take us some time. So very quickly, what are the costs of running those rollups, right? So the most important thing, in our opinion, is how you store the data, right? So either you can use the blobs on Ethereum after EIP 4844, or you can use any of those alternative DAs that are popping lately. So most notably Celestia, Veil, and again DA. But still, like for example, Base made millions out of sequencer fees when they paid only 11K of ETH equivalent in dollars for those blobs. So you can actually see that this is like not that important anymore since like 6-8 months. Then you need to basically maintain the infrastructure. So you can, if you are using Rollup as a service provider, you can just pay this this I think is for Conduit $3,000 a month. But the problem I see is there that you will basically share all of those multi-sigs and probably other pieces of infrastructure as well with other rollups. So if something will happen to Conduit, you might find yourself in a pretty difficult situation. So maybe running your infrastructure by your own, even though more costly, is a correct way to go. And of course, basically getting those developers, right? Getting those users, running those incentivized programs and grants for them. So of course, most of the teams are using their own native tokens to do that. So I guess this is not that hard. But yeah, this is like executing it correctly is pretty hard, I would say, because if you incentivize everything, nothing is incentivized anymore, right? So like this is like a real problem right now on all of those different chains. So as you see, there are like many choices, and the question arises: which tech should you actually use? So this is where L2bit is coming into the picture. So we are doing those, like we are gathering all of this data from all of the different chains, and we are the neutral watchdog. So you can be sure that we are not getting paid by any specific company to basically shield their solution, right? We are not only gathering the data on TVL, on activity of those chains, finality, liveness, like all of those metrics that I doubt you will find on any other websites. But we also build our own frameworks, and we spend a lot of time to research those. So right now we have two most important ones. One is stages. So basically this shows you how much the rollups are actually decentralized. So if a rollup is stage 0, it's basically run by the team behind it. And when it's achieving stage 2, it's fully immutable rollup. And the other one is risk Rosette. So basically there are those 5 possibilities of how you can lose your money if you will send it from ETH to any of those L2s. And we basically go line after line of each of those smart contracts for all of those different L2s, and that's how we know what's actually happening there. So if you want to visit L2bit, here is a QR code. You can also just put l2bit.com, I guess. I will leave it here for like 10 seconds or so. And basically, since that this is like this neutral watchdog that is not funded by anybody specific, but rather by everybody as a collective. Even if you are a user, if you're a developer, you can just go there and you actually can easily check like the state of the whole space and easily compare those different solutions with each other. So brief introduction to these 3 levels of risks in risk Rosette. So basically, as I mentioned, there are 5 different possibilities to lose money. So we have data availability. So it ensures that all the information needed to check the system is accessible to everyone. We have state validation about making sure the system records are accurate and trustworthy. We have sequencer failure, so basically it deals with the risk of the system operator blocking or slowing down transactions. We have exit window, so what is the amount of time that you have to leave the system if there is an update scheduled that you don't actually like, right? Is it like 7 days or just like a couple of minutes? And proposer failure, so basically what happens if the person or group responsible for updating the system fails? Can you actually do anything by yourself, right? Can you actually withdraw the money that way? So this is like a very brief explanation because I'm basically, I think, running out of time. So if you want to learn more, I highly encourage you to do so, because I believe that being like oriented and knowing about those different trust assumptions of those chains that you are using on the daily basis is pretty important, especially with this account abstraction focus nowadays. I just don't want you to wake up someday and all of your money would be gone. And probably like one of the last questions, should everyone launch their own L2? So you actually need to know what you're getting into, because with chains like PGN by Gitcoin, they didn't really know, I think, what are the different requirements for the OP stack. So for example, they didn't matter, they weren't able to get a lot of users because they were only running those Gitcoin runs every couple of months. So basically they didn't get a lot of fees from the transactions. At the same time, they still needed to post the data on L1. So like they were bleeding money, right? The cost of running the chain were just bigger than just having getting paid by users, right? And then we have ENS, right? So we also have like a lot of those core protocols for Ethereum community that wants to focus on one specific stack provider. So this is more like vision question. So do you actually want to, for those core protocols to kind of associate themselves with the teams that are funded by some specific VC funds, right? And what future holds for all those solutions? So we are in this weird transition phase right now, right? So Ethereum is scaling, but the ETH price somehow goes down with every single minute. So we are scaling like crazy, but we just, as I mentioned, we don't feel all of these needs. We don't feel all of this block space. Since like it's so easy to launch those chains, but it's not easy to create a viable use case, I would say. And stuff like blobs is still waiting for the price discovery, in my opinion. So like you don't, those solutions don't pay a lot to ETH right now. But the interoperability is just leaving the infant stage. So I would say basically that right now we have a tech, but we just need to kind of start really working on those different consumer apps and stuff to actually fill this block space, create those different transactions, and actually that way I believe in a couple of years if we basically get a lot of those fees from those L2s. So I wouldn't worry too much about your ETH, but it's my honest personal opinion. So yeah, we are scaling everybody. We did great for the last couple of years, and I think a couple of another one holds like great things for this whole community as well. So can't wait when I will be buying the candy bar in the store on chain, I guess. So yeah, that's all. Thank you very much for hearing me out. And I think I'm out of my time, so I'm not sure if there is a time for questions, but okay.
Thank you for your presentation. Alexander Korskov, FinTech Association. First question, I opened your dashboard, L2B, and can find that DYDX moved from own L2 by Ethereum to Cosmos SDK.
Yep.
What do you think, why?
Oh, I mean, like, I'm not from the DYDX team, unfortunately, so it's
no, I know,
to
but
me,
like expert.
But yeah, but I think they did it like actually some time ago, and I think that was before we actually had this like if you remember my my waves slide. So I think they kind of left just between the red and blue one. So I think they just didn't have like the clear picture, let's say. And I think that was like, this was like pretty close, I think, to the like this whole Celestia mania, right? And like this like kind of reanimation of Cosmos chains. So I guess they kind of benefited like on the start of it, but like after all of this time, you can actually see that Cosmos is dying, right? So
you think they can be back to?
Yeah. Like I mean, as I mentioned, it's like so easy to launch those new chains, right? I think they were using StarkX, so right now I think it's 10 times easier to launch with a much better tech, and they would do it like faster and cheaper, I guess, than those ones. So we may probably someday see them, but I think that's also like mostly business development stuff and not really like tech stack, right? So I would rather say that there is just money in play than like any specific tech oriented features.
Thanks. And second one, short question on your slide with expensive $3,000 I see to keep to keep your own yes mainnet. What do you mean? It cost for sequencer run?
No, this is basically, I think, like everything they charge you for. Like basically, they will do anything for you. They will deploy the rollup from the, you can just choose the stack. You can choose the A. Choose like do you want to gas be paid in ETH or your native token or whatever, and you just pay them a flat fee every single month, and they run it for you. So you basically don't need to get involved with the rollup at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes. What do you think about the up and coming Bitcoin L2s? Do you see similar development there to the?
So the problem with Bitcoin L2s is that most of them are not L2s but side chains, right? So you don't really have any you don't really get any security from the L1, right? Mostly you just deposit your Bitcoin and get like random tokens for it. So this is the problem, but I also at the same time believe that, they like those hardcore Bitcoiners didn't want to change anything for like what 10 years or something, and only now that they see that Lightning network is not really working at any point, and they just they saw that like Polkadot, Ethereum, every single chain is doing this this L2 strategy right now. So I think that's they try at least, right? But also at the same time, they are late by a couple of years at least. And also, if we were not able to, build those fully scalable solutions that are stage 2, for example, right now with all of these sophisticated smart contracts and Solidity and stuff, I doubt that they will be able to do it with, with the tech available on Bitcoin right now, right? So it's very primitive, in my honest opinion. So
all right. So is it something you're like looking to cover if it gets more mature, or you're sticking?
So we are sticking with only Ethereum L2s right now. But I also know that a lot of teams are actually forking our repo and launching their own Bitcoin layers or Bitcoin Eden or something that is focused on, that is basically based on our work, our research, and our code base. But for those other L1s. So I think the space there is already taken by somebody else. This is also what we wanted, right? So this L2bit is this kind of like best best L2 focus team, let's say, out there, and like everybody can just, this is like fully open source, right? This is a public good. Everybody can just take it and apply it on their own L1, right? This was our goal as well.
Okay, and about L2bit as a company itself, like, what is it like to work there? Is it like most people used to research on L2, or like what are the?
I mean, there's like 20 of us right now, and I would say that half of us is technical. So of course you need a lot of developers. Like you have those different teams, right, for different features. So right now, if you, for example, launch ZK catalog, so this is more like we are verifying all ZK circuits for ZK projects. So this is more like a research focus. Of course, you need a lot of guys from front end to actually explain it to users in an easy to comprehend way. But also you need a lot of people to kind of take care of the business development side right now, because like we are one of those teams that works with every single L2 on the market. So as I mentioned, when I was starting, there was less than 10 of those, so it was pretty easy. But right now it's like 150 or so. So you can kind of imagine how my Telegram, for example, looks like right now, right? So I would say that you need to like the perfect like person right now, you can actually see it on all of these job dashboards and stuff, are people that are like BD/marketing, but also they understand the tech, right? So all of those DevRels, all of those different kind of similar career opportunities, like this is something that is lacking and is needed, right? This is basically something unique for all of these blockchain apps, I believe. You basically need to be at least a bit more technical to understand what is going on. But I also believe that every single generation of humans is also a bit more technical. Like and that's, I guess, with all of these different AIs and stuff, like everybody will be able to build an app or website in a couple of years, and they will not know how to code, right? So I think this is like this younger generation will adapt those solutions a lot easier than the current ones. I hope that explained your question.
Yeah, thank you.
So I guess this is the last question that we had. So thank you very much, guys, for staying so late again, and see you around the hackathon.